welcome to Crafternoon this Monday afternoon. I hope you are all well. Now, if you remember from last week's session on Monday, I showed you how to make a jelly plate using gelatine. I'll go over the recipe again in case you haven't, in case you missed that one, you didn't see how to make the plate. And today's session we're going to be showing you how to print on a variety of different papers. You're going to need your jelly plate. If you haven't made any jelly like this, I'll show you how to do that, but you can also buy them. Buy a Speedball, make a jelly plate that's already made. It'll last a lot longer as well. I'll just get to take it out of the packet so you can see what it looks like. So that's the jelly plate. You have to take care of your jelly plates that you don't put anything sharp onto them, because that will spoil them and it will have a mark on that forever. It doesn't matter too much about the homemade ones, because you can remelt them down if you just put your tub back in the microwave for 1 minute, melt it and set it back in the fridge again. So first, what you're going to need is a variety of paper. So I've got lots of different types of, I'll just put this down a bit. I've got a lot of different types of papers that I've taken from books, some music sheets. I've even got a little tag and also some, down there, fall on the floor, and some wrapping paper as well, that you can make your own wrapping paper using the jelly print, which would be quite nice. And just some plain bits of paper, just a variety of different types. I've got some stencils. You can use the plastic bought stencils. You can cut your own stencils out of paper. I'm just going to cut some out of the just white normal printer paper. Some acrylic paints, a variety of colours. You'll need a brush. Put that up a bit so you can see me. A brush or a brayer. So these are really useful for everything we do to do with printmaking. So, but I've got a big brush just in case you haven't got one. You can just apply the paint to the jelly plate with the brush. And I've also got a dish with bits of textures that I've collected from around the house. So I've got some mesh that was from some oranges, and then one a bit finer that was from the onions, and then an even finer one that was from the garlic. I've got some little sequins which will you can create some circles with those. There's some buttons that we can have a try with, some buttons just to see what kind of textures we get from those. Some cotton, you can apply the cotton if you can find the end. You can put bits of cotton across it to create textures. And I've got a cork and a lot of different leaves. Oh, and some lace. Cardboard tubes are good as well, they're handy, and I like to use the top of the Pritt stick as well. That makes quite a nice circle into the plate. The bought stencils have to pop out all the little bits, so what I've done is keep all those little bits, because you might want to put those on as well to create stencils. They'll be quite handy. If you want to work onto fabric, you're going to need some of this textile medium to mix in with your paint. So don't forget that, and then you have to heat set it with an iron. I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to work on paper. I've also bubble wrapped, makes quite a nice texture. So you can see on here that the underneath layer was made from the bubble wrap. This was made from some leaves. And you can't clean your plate with water. What you have to do is just press some more paper on it. So either use scrap paper, or you can make it as a background for something you can work over later, which is what I like to do, because you can get lots of different exciting textures. That was made from the bought stencil with a layer underneath, and you can just keep building up your layers. And had some lace and some mesh pressed into it. I think I've got one behind me that I did on a full sheet. So this is a sheet that I did, that I created. So you can see there I used a stencil that I created myself, that I cut out of paper. And you can use, if you've got any of their rubber stamps, that if you do card stamping or anything like that, you can press those into it as well. So there's lots of things you can do. this was a drawing that I did. So if you're moving on, if you want to make it something rather than just paper with textures on, if you want to make it into something really nice and special, what I did this drawing of a tree, and then I created a CD for somebody with using the jelly prints to fill. So I did the drawing and I scanned it, and then I filled, there's that tree again, with the fill that was used with the jelly prints, the jelly printed paper. So that was that. So that's how I created that one. And also what I've got, if you were at the last session, if you made any mono prints that some you might not think are great, but I've got one of the mono prints from last week that I'm going to use and print over the top of that as well. So I've got a few of those that I did last week that I can print over. Got different sized papers as well. So let's get started. Got this nice book here as well. I'll show you this for inspiration. This is a Matisse book. I thought this is quite nice because it's all paper cut stencils, and I thought it might give you some inspiration from that book. That's that book, Matisse cutouts. There's lots of nice pictures in there that you could use for inspiration. Now what you're going to need to get you started is your jelly plate. And you'll also, I'm just going to put all my paper on that side, and I'm going to put this down a bit so you can see what I'm doing. Right, so I've got a piece of baking parchment here, or greaseproof paper, just so the plate doesn't stick to anything else. And then you should have your jelly plate. So when you get your jelly plate out of the fridge, you'll need to run around the edge. I've already got mine out because I've been doing some little samples. Run it all the way around the edge so that you can get it out. My end bits were a bit not very good, so what I did is just cut the two ends off, so I've got a nice square, and then you'll just need to press it out, and then you've got your there's your jelly plate. So because the bottom of that's quite smooth, I could probably use that as well. So place that onto your parchment. Remember, don't use anything that's sharp because it will mark whatever you're doing. So I'll put that out of the way for now. And then we'll start with just doing simple layers. So first of all, you need to decide what paper you're going to use. So we'll use some, let's start on a piece of plain paper. And I'm going to start using the corner. I'm going to work around so that I fill all of the paper. If you want to just do one in the middle, that's fine. It's up to you. So I'll get my paint now. Colour, we'll start with a light colour so that we can build layers up on top. I'm going to just put some, so we'll just start with a simple background layer. So I'm just going to put 4 little spots of colour in each corner. And then I'm going to roll that across the plate. My plate started to curl a bit because I've been using it. Once you melt them down again in the microwave, you'll find they get lots of speckles of colours in them, which is really nice. But eventually they will disintegrate. But just remember not to put any, don't put any water on it because you'll just melt it and disintegrate it. So I'm just going to put that in one corner, and then you just press your paper on top. Don't do it the other way around because the more you pick it up, the more it's going to disintegrate. So make sure you have the plate underneath and put the paper on the top, and then I should just get a nice yellow square on that. So there we are, got a nice yellow square. Now because you can't clean it with water, you have to clean it with paper, but I'm just going to do another one next to that one, maybe overlapping a little bit so that I can fill my paper, because it'll just make a paler version of what I've already done. So it's picked up a little bit, and not a lot, so we can go over that one again later. So I'm going to just work all over that, I think. do some more yellow squares. We can do some different colours in between. Now and again you might have to clean your roller. To clean my roller I just use some baby wipes. If you've got a sink nearby you can just clean it in the sink, but make sure you dry it well, because you don't want to spoil your roller by having dried up acrylic on it. So I'm just going to go there with that one. So you can hold it down. So I'm slightly overlapping them so that I fill the whole space. That's another yellow one there. And then if I put a bit of red in, put a bit of red, a bit too much, and a bit of yellow, so let's make them orange. So you can blend the colours together actually on the plate, so you can just blend them with the roller or your brush if you're using a brush. You get more even colour using a roller. I'm just going to roll that until it's mixed up. There we go. There we go. That'll be fine. And then I'm going to put those ones in between the other ones. So where I'm doing it. There we go. It's a really good way to make your own wrapping paper. There we are. Got some nice yellows. Put a bit more of that on. Quite like how that's not quite mixed up right, but it's nice, made a nice texture. Lots of colour. So if you do lots of backgrounds like this, then you've got lots to work on later. Remember not to try not to pick it up too much. I'm just going to overlap that until then. It's very addictive. You can get a bit carried away with doing this. And there we go. So then I've got 4 squares of different colours. I could do the bottom bits as well and the sides, but yeah, we'll do them. We'll do another one. May as well cover the whole sheet. And we've got ones to work on later. If you want your colours to be mixed up really well, then do mix them in a mixing palette first. So this is just basic squares that we're doing now. Ooh, I'm going to get some on my computer there. Oops. And if we do one more yellow, this is going to mix in a bit with the red because I've not wiped it off. That's okay, I don't mind that. If you're working on fabric and you're using the textile medium, you only need a little bit of textile medium, about the same amount that you've got of paint. You can also use the metallic paints, which can be nice on fabric, on black fabric. There we go, so that's made slightly different. Paler orange colour, which is quite nice. And then I think at the side I'll just, whatever's left on the plate, we'll just take off from there. There's not a lot on there. I don't think there's any left on there, to be honest. There we go. Okay, so more or less filled up that sheet. So now on top of the yellow one, what I thought I would get some blue, maybe, so that we might get a green colour on that. I'm just going to put a bit of blue on. So this time I'm going to use a stencil on top. So again, roll it the same. See that my plate's starting to disintegrate a little bit already. I think it's very hot today. That doesn't help very much. So I'm going to put a few little bits on there. So I'll put some leaves on. Some fine on there. On the edge. And then I'm going to put that on the top of the yellow. I might go to the side a bit so it sort of fills in that blank space as well. So I'm just doing it off centre to the edge of the paper. So there you can see we've just got some of the leaves in there. So where it's overlapped we've got the yellow leaves and then we've got the white leaves there. And I might try that, see if there's any paint left on there. I'll show up on another one. No, there wasn't much left on there, but it's made a little bit of a texture there. I don't know if you can see that bit there, just a little bit. So now take these off carefully, and you will see that they've left some colour behind because they had colour on the other side. So I'm going to turn them over as well and just move them around. Maybe not all of them. Place those back on there. I'm going to use a new piece of paper, so I'm going to let that dry for a little bit because it's quite wet. So if I let those backgrounds dry, we can do some more on those later. Just going to use a bit of this text paper. And I'm just going to see what we get from that. We might not, well, actually no, we'll use plain paper because I don't think it's going to show up a lot, and it will show up even less on the text. So I'm just going to press that on and see what's left on the plate. So we get some quite delicate plants. It's quite nice and delicate, I like that. I'll take those off, and I want to get rid of any excess ink off there. I'm just going to quickly, since that's got something on that side, so I'm just going to get rid of any more. Same with the roller. Some of that ink off there. Just going to quickly clean the roller as well, so that the acrylic's not really dry on it. To spoil my roller. I'll get some of that off. So when you clean it off, you'll find the rollers can be quite expensive thing to buy, so you have to look after them and make sure you clean them well, and then just roll it onto the paper to get any excess off, and especially do the sides, get the sides clean, and just keep using new paper until you get rid of all that ink. So you can see there's no ink on there now. So I'll keep that to one side. I might do some more things on that one later. Right, so let's do a stencil. Which stencil should we use? What would be quite nice? I think I'm going to use some of these to stencil out. I need a palish colour for the first layer, I think. So we'll use, we've used orange, haven't we? So should we make a pink? Let's just put a bit of red on. And then some white, and make a pink. Let's put some spots of white in there as well. Together, mix it in on there. It's more red than pink, I think. And there we go. That's the right colour. That's pink. And then I'm going to take some of these out and stencil it. I'm just going to place them on. Give it in some rows just to make some spots. Just Some of these aren't very round. I think that will do actually. We'll just do those few on there. I'm trying to see what happens with the buttons as well. I'm going to put this on. I'm just going to press a button in to see what we get. Just press it on gently and then take it off again. Press it on and then take it off. Okay, the second one was a bit messier than the first one. Let's see how that comes out. Right, paper. I might start working. No, not on the wrapping paper just yet because it's going to. I don't think the pink will show up very well on the brown paper. I'll better on some white paper. And again, I'm going to start in the corner so that I can fill a whole sheet. Let's see what we get with this. So basically, whatever you've got lying around the house, as long as it's not sharp and it's going to cut into your plate. If you do accidentally cut into it, just you microwave it and set it again. So then I've got some spotty. It's quite nice, isn't it? And I'm going to do that again just to get the rest of that ink off. I've just got a very pale version of the same thing. And if you take these off, just do that again to see what I get with that. I do it on the same bit because it doesn't have much on there. And just get some spots on there. Yep, so we've got some spots on there. So the other way around. So I like how that's turned out. So now we could do a stencil over the top of that as well, using some more of the leaves, but we need a darker colour. I'm just going to wipe off that pink off the roller because I don't really want the pink mixing in. Just going to wipe that off. Let's just go rid of that. That's pink. So on top of that, maybe I think if we use a black, that will make it stand out. Oh no, let's use a blue. Don't want black. Let's use blue. Roll that again. And then I'm going to put some leaves on there. I'll put some slightly bigger ones on this time. What else have I got in there? Let's have a look. These are fairly flat ones. That one should do. I'm going to paint that into there. I do find that a smooth paper works better than one that's textured, and quite a thin one rather than a thick paper. So what you get with that. So there we've got, you can see the leaf shapes, but you've still got the spots. And again, oh, broke that one. Pull those off. Some of these are really delicate and dry, and I'm going to turn them over as well, so I get the texture off them again. Stuck to my fingers. Oops. There we go, and I'll do that over. It's getting a bit messy now. I'll wipe my hands on it, and then I'm going to do that over that one. So you can just experiment with lots and lots and lots of different textures on this. You can see some of those are stuck to there. So I've got some nice textures in that. It's going to break up because it's so fine. Got there. Let's take all the leaves off now. Get a scrap piece of paper, just get any of the ink off. Just again on that same one. Get the rest of the ink off. And again, I'm going to write the roller. I'll wipe the button as well. Right, so that's how you can do a stencil with leaves and natural things. So there's so many different things you can do with this. I don't know where to start. Okay, so we just need another colour. Should we have let's stick with the red and blue theme on this one, on this page. So I'll do some more, no, start with red, because we can go over it. Yeah, because I'd normally start with a yellow and then go to red, then do another layer in blue, but I think today, because it's easier for you to see with the brighter colours rather than the yellow, you might not be able to see it very well on the screen, so I'll use brighter colours. So I'm going to start with the red, and I'm just going to add some textures by pressing things onto this one. So we'll start with the top off the Pritt stick, or the glue stick should I say. And then I'm just placing it on and just giving it a little bit of a twist so it takes some of the colour out. You might need to keep wiping it onto your newspaper, and then just creating some big circles. And go over the edges as well. So you see how that lifts the colour out. If you can see how it's sort of lifted it out like that. I could do something else on there as well. I've got a smaller little cotton reel here as well that I could use in the middle of those to create another circle. So I'm just going in the middle of each one now. Don't work too slowly or too precise, because it will dry. You don't want it to dry before you've printed it. So there we go. So I don't know if you can see that. You see. Circles. I'm just going to go next to, turn it the other way up as well, just for interest, and overlap it just slightly. You could just make loads and loads and loads of papers, and you could use tissue papers, so if you do other crafting projects you could use those papers to collage some more designs. So that's really nice. So something like that, if you worked on a whole sheet of that, you could cut it up and make a collage if you make cards and things like that. Just gonna roll up. Should we go with the blue one next? I don't think I want to do anything over the top of that. I quite like that one as it is. So I've not cleaned the roller in between, so it might pick up some of that red colour. You can actually see on my plate where the marks that I've made, so it's probably going to pick up on all of the next prints from now on until I melt it back down. I need a bit more ink on there. You can still see where the marks are that I've made, so I've probably going to make some marks on there that are permanent until I melt it down. I will explain again, for those that missed it, how to make the jelly plate. It's created a few gaps actually, but so you can always fill those in with a brush. So and other things that you can do, you could add some cotton. Get some cotton and you can just place that on just randomly. You can draw into it with something that's not too sharp. Maybe use the end of the paintbrush, so you could create some lines. Ooh, it's got a bit of a sharp bit on it. I'm just going to actually need to clean that off a little bit more and clean the roll on, re-ink that one. I'm just going to print that and I'm going to re-ink it because it's a bit patchy. So let's get all of that ink off and just give it a bit of a clean. Oh, that's quite nice actually as it is. I'm just going to give it a good few sheets over it just to get rid of all that paint. So I can get it on a bit more evenly. There was quite a lot of ink. Okay, some nice backgrounds we've got there now. Okay, so deadly we've got that one left actually. It goes so quick, especially when you're having fun. Right, that's a bit better. And I've managed to get that a bit more even. Not terribly even, but it'll be fine. Let's put that on. And then if you've got something that you can just draw into, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it on here now, because I think my jelly plate's starting to melt, it's so hot. But you get the drift. It's better to do this when it's nice and fresh, I think. And use a pencil. You can get a better mark with a pencil. Draw some lines and that show up a bit better. I'm going to go over the one I did. Oh, let's do it back on this sheet. Let's fill this sheet up, don't we? So to make the jelly plate, you're going to need some packets of gelatine. I use 5 packets of 12-gram gelatine. You can see that way. You've got the string. If you can see that. It's building up quite a nice piece of paper. That. Quite interesting. Look how that's. So you've got the grid. So you can just keep working over and over and over them. These ones are dry now, so we could work over the top of those as well. And some different textures. So you can either press the texture into it and then remove it, or you could leave the texture on, or just have. I think we've got time just for maybe one more. Let's just do. I'm just gonna go where we've been doing. Let's just go with the black, shall we? Right, there we go. Go for it with the black. So we can see it well. So I might just get my mesh. I've saved from the what's this one from? Oh, the oranges. This one was from. Just place it over and then just press it. Need it over the top of the red, but the other way round. And I'm going to make it go to the side of the paper as well. And then just press that down. Because the jelly plate's so soft, you get really good textures. The mesh just sort of sinks into the plate, so that should come out quite well. That came out well. See that? So that's page. If I just keep working, I'm just going to keep building up textures and pull that off, and you see that you're left with some more of the colour. So if I go over the yellow with that, you'll get something else on there. I'm just looking for I have a packet for the gelatine to show you somewhere. Where is it? now been working, I've made a mess. Oh, there it is. Just take that off, and then it's got another texture on there. So you can just keep going and going and going and fill in lots of sheets of paper. So you've got lots of craft papers for your crafting later on. Right, so this is the packets of gelatin that you get from the supermarket, Sainsbury's, Tesco's, any big supermarket. If you go to the baking aisle, you'll find that this one in particular comes in a pack of 3. So you're going to need 2 of those packs, because you need 5 12-gram packs. So you need 5 of these, 5 of the little 12-gram ones. Obviously if it's more, just work it out so you get the same amount. So what you do first, you mix it in a jug with half a cup of hot water, give it a good stir round, and then add half a cup of cold water and give it a good stir. Pour it into your mould. So I've used a plastic takeaway tub for my mould. And then put it in the fridge to set. Oh, before you put it in the fridge, if you get a little piece of paper or some card, and then just scrape the top of it, so you just get it like that, and just scrape all that. You'll see that it's got bubbles on the top. So if you scrape all the bubbles off, because otherwise you'll get this, what I've got round the edge there, because obviously I didn't get right to the edge to scrape it. I've also got a bit of a lump there. That's why I cut this bit off and made it into a square. So and I made this last Monday, and it's kept really well in the fridge. Eventually it will go mouldy, but then you can start again, make another one, make a fresh one. But you can, if it starts to go in bits like this, yeah, all these bits that I've got here, I can just chuck it all in. I think there's another bit the bit that I cut off. I can just chuck all that in, put it in the microwave for 1 minute, and then put it back in the fridge to set again. Oh, it's really messy and more sticky now from doing that. So I hope you had fun this afternoon. I didn't have time to do everything, but you can cut your own stencils. I've got this great book here as well on jelly printing. It's by Suzanne McNeil. So if anybody really wants to get into jelly printing, it's a great book. It's got the recipe, it's got everything in it that you need to know about jelly printing. It's got some ideas as well, some inspirational ideas. I particularly like, she's made some bags. She even made bags using jelly prints, and quilts, and printing onto t-shirts, all kinds of things, really interesting things in here. It's a great book, quite complex things. And you can see here she's used some of the jelly plates to create she's got like a decoupage effect. What else is in here? And books and canvases. So you can make all sorts. Once you've got lots of these, you could make all sorts with them. And the plate, and that's the bought jelly plate, which I prefer to use these, to be honest. So I hope you've had fun, and thanks for joining. And I'll see you again for some more Crafternoons. Thank you. Bye.